In Homestead, Florida, stands one of this generation's megalithic structures, built by a single man named Edward Leedskalnin. First in Florida City, he relocated the entire castle to Homestead, Florida, where he completed the work. Frequently compared to the pyramids at Giza, the heads of Easter Island, and Stonehenge, we look at Coral Castle. One giant question remains. How did he build this? The only first-hand accounts that we have of other people watching Ed work is only at night, where he has been said to sing to the stones that now make up what he called Rock Gate. Many of these single pieces of rock weigh over 1,000 tons, and the question remains, how did he do this? We explore this question among many other questions about the nature of our reality, hidden technology, mathematics, and the world energy grid. Come along with me on this journey as we look into just how Ed Leedskalnin created Coral Castle. Hello, and welcome to Yissel Missile Productions channel. My name is Steven Yissel, and today we're continuing our deep dive series into Coral Castle. We have a two-parter chapter that we are starting today, and it's all about ley lines and Adam, which I'm pretty sure it's referencing Adam and Eve, but we'll find out as we go here. So the chapter we're reading is titled Ley Lines and the Meaning of Adam by Richard Leviton. So let's see. We've talked a lot about ley lines already, and we have a basic understanding of how ley lines match up with this, and we are all focused on this area. Right now, this channel is covering that whole area that I just pointed at to. It's a lot, but we're getting through it. We got some crazy diagrams today. But I hope you're all doing well. Please like this video and share it around. I know missing time you do that, and I appreciate that. And above all, just I guess like this chapter is going to be really detail heavy. So if you need to take time to look at this again, or watch it again, listen to it again, by all means do so. Because we're here to learn. So if you didn't get it the first time, it's alright. You could go back and watch it again. I have many moments like that in my life here. It's just, this chapter's like 60 pages. So that's why we're splitting it into 2 parts. One half this week and one half next week. Alright, we'll go up to 165 today. And if you are reading along at home with me, we are starting on page 141. That page isn't numbered, but the next page is 142. But again, let's look at the cover page of this chapter. Because again, these are all different, these are all different works compiled into one large volume. So each chapter is somebody else's research that we're taking a look at here. I assume that's the Milky Way. And here we have, as above, so below. I'm not sure how to pronounce that last name. So we're just skipping that. It's all good. Okay, so let's begin here. Hermes' geomancy. Looming behind all concepts of the planetary grid stands the ancient Magnus, Hermes Trismegistos. I said I wasn't going to pronounce it right, so just bear with me here. Thrice greatest master geomancer of Earth. With his Smagdurine emerald tablets, the keys to Gaia's, or Earth's, energy body. That same master grid engineer, the god's messenger for Earth, later passed the flame of his mastery for our time to the Archangel Michael with his solar initiatory sword. Michael, say the Hebrews, is the keeper of the secrets of the relations between heaven and earth, the nurturing bond of geomancy. The message of both Hermes and Michael to us today as neophyte grid engineers is this: the grid is the paramount spiritual phenomenon of Earth. Our Ariadne's thread out of this bewildering maze of physical life on Earth is the ley line. I think it's Ariadne. Ariadne is the way you pronounce that here. Alright. Our Ariadne's thread out of this bewildering maze of our physical life on Earth is the ley line. The rediscovery of ley lines in this century is only a fragment, however, of the eventual unveiling of the secrets of nature. Ley lines are the luminous strands that many are pulling at today, hardly suspecting what riches lie at the end of these subtle light lines. All ley lines lead to the planetary grid, the primary light and energy matrix, creating, enveloping, and maintaining planet Earth, our Gaia. The grid has been variously described by poets and clairvoyants in recent times. Ley lines are, quote, the radial threads on a spider's web, end quote. Ley lines form the, quote, focal points in a vast multi-layered cobweb somewhat reminiscent of a micrograph of nerve cells and their ganglia, end quote. As, quote, the circulation and nervous system of the body of Earth, end quote. The grid is, quote, a geometrically precise web, end quote, punctuated with, quote, grids of light or focal points, end quote. A, quote, receptor web complex with nexi of entrance, end quote. And nexi is spelled N-E-X-I. Hey, Missing Time, I see you there. Good to see you. The British novelist Doris Lessing writes intimately of the grid as, quote, the enclosing web of subtle light that touched the Earth's globe. All over the globe ran these pulses or lines, end quote, which make, quote, a colored spinning membrane, end quote, and, quote, a giant web of patterning oscillations and quiverings, end quote. A personal acquaintance of mine in England summed it up lucidly. Quote, I saw the earth as a fishnet web of light lines. My body was the same, and there were lines of light radiating from the intersections of the planet's surface to link with the web network surrounding other planets. End quote. The hermetic keys to the planetary grid are inscribed on Messenger's mythical emerald tablets, which summarize the 7 hermetic principles underlying all manifestation. These are the keys to Hermes' geomancy. The principle of mentalism, and in parentheses, the universe is mental, and all is infinite mind, which is the fundamental reality and the womb of all universes, end parentheses. The principle of correspondence, and in parentheses, whatever is below is like unto that which is above, and whatever is above is like that which is below, to accomplish the miracles of the One, end parentheses. And the One is capitalized. The principle of vibration, and in parentheses, nothing rests, everything moves and vibrates, end parentheses. The principle of polarity, in parentheses, everything is dual, has poles, and pairs of opposites, end parentheses. The principle of rhythm, parentheses, everything has its tides, its rise and fall, its equal pendulum swings to the right and left, its peaks and troughs, end parentheses. The principle of causation, in parentheses, every effect has its cause, every cause has its effect, all proceeding by law, never by chance, end parentheses. And finally, the principle of gender, in parentheses, everything has its, quote, masculine, end quote, feminine, end quote, aspects, end parentheses. Experimental knowledge of Hermes' principles through meditative interfacing with the Earth grid leads us into the secrets of geomancy. The grid is not something out there, away from us, safely, abstractly separate from our daily lives. Our molecular bodies and human consciousness as we walk on Earth live within the grid. The grid is like a unified tuning fork with vibrating with our light/life/electromagnetic spectrum for Earth as we receive it daily from our specific star evolution paradigm, the Sun, the astrophysical center of our local solar system grid. Our King Sun is an evolving star, and our lives as humans on Earth are breathed within the grid meditated perimeters of, quote, his, end quote, body, our familiar solar system. The grid is the forgotten nexus between humankind as embodied earth-walking consciousness and the starry heavens. The grid is the spiritual link for the blending of cosmic and terrestrial energies in the consciousness experiment known as humanity. It is the pervasive means for the harmonious fusion of the energies of the solar system in human consciousness. The grid actually predates physical Earth and is more like Mother Gaia's exterior skeletal energy structure. Her prototypal design and predetermined matrix of energy and light from which her physical body was manifested. So you know what that's saying? The grid popped up before anything else. And I just realized I did not have the slideshow going there, so it's there now. Our relations as embodied humans with the star evolution we call the Sun is meditated through the grid enveloping Earth. The key word here is homologous. The human body is conical, rectangular, while the Earth's body is spherical. Yet Hermes speaks truthfully when he says, as above, so below. What exists in heaven is embodied on Earth and in the human, but in specific manners appropriate to the morphology. This is the meaning of, quote, equal logos, end quote, and in parentheses, homo-logos, end parentheses, i.e., the same word. Just as the human has an intricate subway system of acupuncture meridians carrying chi, the life force, so has the Earth a myriad web-like matrix of ley lines and focal points. Geomancy and somomancy are two more pivotal grid explicating words. Geomancy initially means, quote, divination of the Earth's secrets, end quote, and in parentheses, from the Greek, Gaia-mantos, end parentheses. But after a meditative experience with the planetary grid, the word emerges for us into its larger meaning as, quote, divinization of the Earth, end quote, because positive, loving human consciousness interfacing with the heaven-bestowed grid completes its intended divinization process. Somamancy, spelled Somamancy, in parentheses Greek, meaning body-mantos, or that's the Greek word, end parentheses, is the equivalent word operating in the human dimension. As we breathe meditatively with love from above, which is the fundamental energy behind light and matter, at focal points on the grid, not only do we bring the Earth's light lines into clarity, we manifest our own inherent divinity, perceive our own bodily ley lines, and come to embody knowingly, somamantically, this inseverable nexus between the Earth, cosmos, and human. Another name for this nexus is the grid. Thus, geomancy and somamancy are two sides of the same coin. When we harmonize and enlighten geo, we do reciprocally the same for soma. Eastern esoteric yoga informs us that the human has not only the apparent physical body, but a series of overlapping, multi-dimensional bodies, which form a kind of Jacob's ladder away from the familiar body of bones and flesh into the body of light. These bodies are variously described according to different various traditions, but essentially they include the etheric/electromagnetic body, in parentheses, seat of the meridians and chakras, end parentheses, the emotional body, in parentheses, or astral body, the basic formative dimension for emotions as polarized expressions, end parentheses. The mental body, in parentheses, the sphere of abstract knowledge and concrete thinking, the realm of forms, and forms is capitalized, end parentheses, and the causal body, or the causal body. I misread that. In parentheses, seed of the soul, the timeless spiritualized agent behind sequential human incarnations, end parentheses. So this is getting into very esoteric topics here that we don't touch upon too often. Missing Time asks, so somamancy is like our connection to the grid. I'm trying to put this together in my head right now as well. That's why I'm pausing here. I don't talk about this stuff too often. This chapter alone has a very different sentence structure from the others. But it kind of makes sense. I'm trying to think of how to explain this. Compare our light being, our soul, our eternal life, to these ley lines, and that the ley lines were there just like our spirit's always been there. And we entered this world, and then our bodies are formed by our light signature. And so that's why you have just the ley lines that exist at first without any physical earth, and then physical earth manifests over that light energy of the ley lines. So you go to almost, that's why they say that Earth is Gaia. It's a living being. There's some people that say that the light beings could be angels. And I would agree with that. Getting in some real deep conversation here. But it's a lot to think about. Basically, well, you know what? I already explained, I think, pretty thoroughly. But our physical bodies are the representation of our light energy. Plain and simple. And real quickly, I'll go over both these terms again. Geomancy initially means divination of the Earth's secrets, but after a meditative experience with the planetary grid, the word emerges for us into its larger meaning as, quote, divinization of the Earth, end quote. Because positive, loving human consciousness interfacing with the heaven-bestowed grid completes its intended divinization process. Somomancy is the equivalent word operating in the human dimension. So, Somomancy is our physical matter presence here, and Geomancy is our light being. So yes, I guess simply to answer your question, yes, missing time. It is our connect. It is the way that we are connected here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to operate in this realm at all. We have some sort of an idea of what light beings and spirits would be without bodies, but there's just so many one-off instances of just phenomenons. I guess that's all I could really describe it as. Because then you get into all of these... You get into the paranormal, where we start talking about angels and demons and a lot of other things. But ultimately, everything is made of light. And our physical presence is the outward manifestation of our light. So, I guess another question would be, why does it operate the way it does? Just to reference the Bermuda Triangle, that we're doing this show tomorrow, but Bermuda Triangle has a lot of instances of time shifts, of just moving over vast distances, like 400 miles in the matter of seconds or even like a moment. But this physical realm is also made up through time. And time is just our way of explaining moment to moment. It can get very confusing talking about all this. So I'm just going to continue reading on. I think I got a lot of my initial thoughts out, though. So Somomancy is the equivalent word operating in the human dimension. As we breathe meditatively with love from above, which is the fundamental energy behind light and matter, the focal points on the grid, not only do we bring the Earth's light lines into clarity, we manifest our own inherent divinity, perceive our own bodily ley lines, and come to embody knowingly, somamantically, this inseverable nexus between the earth, cosmos, and human. Another name for this nexus is the grid. Thus, geomancy and somomancy are two sides of the same coin. When we harmonize and enlighten geo, we do reciprocally the same for soma. I've been actually getting the impression here that if we're talking about the dualities and Hermes saying as above, so below, is our light being the above and is our physical body the below? That's what it's appearing like here. Eastern esoteric yoga informs us that the human has not only the apparent physical body, but a series of overlapping multidimensional bodies which form a kind of Jacob's ladder away from the familiar body of bones and flesh into the body of light. These bodies are variously described according to different traditions, but essentially they include the etheric/electromagnetic body, in parentheses, seat of the meridians and chakras, in parentheses, the emotional body, in parentheses, or astral body, the basic formative dimension for emotions as polarized expressions, end parentheses, the mental body, in parentheses, the sphere of abstract knowledge and concrete thinking, the realm of forms, and forms is capitalized, end parentheses, and the causal body, in parentheses, seat of the soul, the timeless, spiritualized agent behind sequential human incarnations, end parentheses. So that's another thing that it brought up that made me pause here to begin with, because we just reread a lot of this page. I guess that would make sense if our light being, which we commonly refer to as the soul, if that's eternal, then this is just very temporary. And it's not very far-fetched to say that we do return here time and time again. I'm just trying to rationally think about this. It's kind of caught me off guard here today. I didn't think I'd be talking about reincarnation of all things. But we'll talk about it. As of now, and for quite a long time, I've gone along with the idea of different ages of souls. So old souls, young souls, and then the way that they operate here as we live in this realm. the old souls would be the ones that have already reincarnated several times. This could be their last reincarnation for all we know. We don't know. But the young souls, I want to say it's their first, second, third time, but it's one of the first times. Like, they haven't gone through everything yet. It's kind of like, oh man, this is really racking my brain now. Like, to be an old soul here, it would be similar to like having, like, breeding rat terriers for a farm. So you're talking about like dog breeding, and generations go by, you keep on having these rat terrier dogs, and you train them from birth through death to go and hunt rats, right? That next generation is going to already have that knowledge to go. It's the instinctual knowledge. That's what I'm trying to get at here. So old souls would have an instinctual knowledge of being here already, but this does still feel to that soul or light being that it's their first time through. But they have this intuition, this instinct of doing other things that they didn't learn here in this lifetime, but they've possibly learned in the past. I think I explained that pretty well. But I give the dog breeding analogy because I've been looking at a lot of these, like, these videos about that with the farming and everything. And the rat terrier dogs, these farmers breed them just to get rid of rats and pest problems. And they're trained like that every single day. So then that dog has a litter, and then from that litter are more dogs. And so you go like 3 generations in. That third generation of hunting dogs for catching rats and everything, that instinct is just ingrained in their DNA in a way. They have like a recall that they're not even aware of. And I think the same goes for us too. That we have knowledge that we don't know why we have it. Like, I know there's people that just start speaking a different language. You never learned that language, but they're able to speak it for some reason. And that could get into a whole thing with, like, is it not that person talking, or are they possessed? I don't like getting into that too often, but for this topic that we're covering today, it's more along the lines of intuition and just having that prior knowledge that you wouldn't have just being here once. It's like going to watch a movie a second or third time at a movie theater. You know the movie, but you're going in to look at the finer details. All right, let's continue reading here because we have to get through as much as possible. We're doing okay so far. We're doing okay because I don't want to speed this up and like we miss some like major concepts here. I want to make sure that we're understanding, that we're all on the same page as much as we can be, because we're all learning at different rates and we're at different chapters in our lives, so we're absorbing this information differently. But I think we came to a pretty good understanding here as far as I'm concerned. But let me know if you have any other thoughts too, and yeah, we can keep the conversation going. But let's continue reading here. These 5 bodies form An interpenetrating consciousness grid like a series of Chinese boxes. So, okay, I'm just going to read this without the parentheses. I'm going to go up a paragraph so that we understand what these 5 bodies are again. The etheric / electromagnetic body, the emotional body, the mental body, and the casual body. Is that 5? Okay, I guess that is 5. Etheric, electromagnetic, emotional, mental, and causal. These 5 bodies form an interpenetrating consciousness grid like a series of Chinese boxes or like the layers of an onion with always another inside. The Earth similarly has this multidimensional overlay of grid bodies, this convenient linear abstraction of what is indivisible, whole, simultaneous, and synchronous, is nonetheless useful as a model in explaining the different functional aspects of the planetary grid. Thus, we begin with an examination of Gaia's 5 grid bodies. And we have a diagram here, diagram 1, human acupuncture chart showing meridians and points. And this is from the publication Acupuncture by author Mark Duke, Mark Duke, MarcDuke, published by Pyramid House, New York, 1972, and specifically from page 127. Okay. Take a look at this thing. It's us. Let me get more light on that. What are those 2 nodes on the top? You can see the face in there. But what's that on top? That's wild. Almost looks like a language is written on that. I can't do... Let me see if I can even look at it, because it's so hard to just have it be in focus on this on the video here. I actually want to say there's some form of like Japanese that's like running up and down there. I have no idea. It's too hard for me to tell. This needs to be a lot more blown up than it is. Like even trying to read this on the sheet is kind of difficult to see. Okay. So the electromagnetic 1746 grid, or 1746 grid. This grid, the first dimensional expression away from the physical Earth, is the foundation of the material Earth and what Ecclesiastes, I can't pronounce it, I'm sorry. You guys are seeing the ceiling of my knowledge here. Sorry. Ecclesiastes. Some of these words I haven't said in years. Ecclesiastes. I knew it. I've said this word before, but it's been so long. I gotta say it twice, though. Alright. Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes. Alright, let's start over here. The electromagnetic 1746 grid. This grid, the first dimensional expression away from the physical Earth, is the foundation of the material Earth, and what Ecclesiastes... it's really tough. Sorry. I apologize to all you out there. Ecclesiastes. This grid, the first dimensional expression away from the physical Earth, is the foundation of the material Earth, and what Ecclesiastes called, quote, the golden bowl, end quote. It is an etheric energy duplicate, though more subtle, of the physical, whether human or planetary, and it is here that most contemporary geomancers, dowsers, and lay hunters are conducting their investigations. Ecclesiastes. Okay, I think I got the name down. Ecclesiastes. This body vitalizes and energizes the physical. It is the clearinghouse for all incoming energy fields and transmits them intelligently to the organic body matrices, in parentheses, organs or power points, end parentheses. It is the channel for physically focused consciousness to register the subtle worlds of energy and influence. Through the electromagnetic body course the acupuncture meridians, the yin, in parentheses, negative, feminine, end parentheses, and yang, in parentheses, positive or masculine, end parentheses, polarized channels for the, quote, two breaths of chi, end quote, the pervasive life energy, as cataloged by the ancient Chinese. Okay, so I was saying before this human acupuncture diagram we looked at was Japanese, so it might be Chinese, actually. So I was wrong on that, too. Oh. We're all learning here. And plus, the diagram's so small, I can't even read anything. I just saw some hash marks on it. Alright, these meridians traverse the physical earth and human body in an intricate, though rationally precise matrix, visually resembling something like the New York City subway system at its most obtuse. And that was diagram 1. What we were just looking at. Acupuncturists speak of 10 organ-related and 2 affiliate channels, 15 luo. And the luo, that word is spelled Luo. So, 10 organ-related and 2 affiliate channels, 15 luo that connect these major meridians, and 8 strange flow channels. The 12 muscle meridians, such that as many as 59, quote, rivers of chi, end quote, are documented in advanced Chinese medical texts, with a minimum of 365 treatment points or subway stops, but with up to 1,000 points potentially available and sometimes used. If you all are still here, like, reading along here with me, listening to me, you guys are awesome. I think this is gonna lose a lot of people, me just going over all of this stuff. But you're here. That's what matters here. And I'm speaking overall too, but Missing Time is here in the chat for tonight. Oh, Missing Time says it's the antenna on the top of the head here. That's what it looked like to me on this diagram, the antenna. Oh. Like I said, if this is confusing to any of you out there, don't worry about it. This is all new. This is stuff like this is not talked about anywhere. I can't even find Bruce Cathy interviews, alright? Like, that's how buried all of this knowledge is. And we're just touching the surface of a lot of this stuff. But we're pretty deep along in this series, and this is probably the most difficult chapter I've ever read. At least for this series, it's the most difficult. There's just so many concepts that are being presented here. All right, let's continue. Correspondingly, the venerable Chinese geomancers practicing Feng Shui, the elusive landscape science of, quote, wind and water, end quote, delineated the terrestrial Lung Mei, that's M-E-I, in parentheses, quote, dragon paths, end quote, or ley lines, end parentheses, which flowed either as a white yang tiger in the high mountains or as a yin blue dragon in the low hills and valleys. Ooh. So white tiger and blue dragon were the two lung mai, or the two breaths of chi, met and became one. This was a power point node, full of chi and suitable for a royal grave or temple. The masters of Feng Shui then intelligently placed their acupuncture, quote, needles of stone, end quote, at these key power fusion points to clarify, harmonize, energize, and distribute the terrestrial chi in the grid in accordance with daily, weekly, monthly, seasonal, and yearly calendars, which is precisely what the acupuncturist does with her assortment of tiny needles and treatment maps of the human body. This is our conceptual background for entering the electromagnetic 1746 grid. The first key aspect of this grid is the treatment nodes, or power points, in the meridian system. Oh, so actually, we're starting to get a picture here. These have been variously described by, quote, Earth Mysteries, end quote, writers as energy cells, coordination points, exit points, energy vortices, time portals, subtle digestive systems. A more accurate, like that sentence just ends. I should say, and subtle digestive systems. This is a first edition, by the way. There's also a lot of other spelling errors or punctuation's not there, and that happens in a lot of first edition books. It just happens. There's human error abound. Right? We're not perfect. A more accurate name is domes, because this clearly, though controversially, reflects the origin and purpose of these landscape energy centers. There is on the Earth state proponents of the dome theory, a system of dome centers or etheric energy canopies, occupying the space over sacred enclosures. Did we just get the answer to like all of these cathedrals and state capitals? These domes were made because they... So, whoever built all of these buildings that have domes on them, especially these megalithic structures, they built it according to this, I think. That's what I'm getting the impression of. Alright. I'm going to reread that sentence here. There is on the Earth state proponents of the dome theory, a system of dome centers or etheric energy canopies, occupying the space over sacred enclosures. In parentheses, creating them, in fact. End parentheses. From which extend numerous short-distance, straight-running, and spiraling dome lines of light radiating out over the landscape. The dome lines link the dome centers with each other in a subtle communications grid. The subtle landscape is characterized as an intricate pattern of spirals, straight lines, and pulsating circles of light, like a couple of thousand blinking thimbles of multi-hued light dotting the earth in a geometric web of ribbony filaments flowing outwards in all directions. The domes made the etheric structure of Earth what it is by imposing a conscious matrix upon the planet to make Earth a place for possible human conscious evolution. According to dome theory, When the domes appeared on Earth, they activated lines of light and energy already present in the etheric skeletal web of the planet. The domes were ships brought here as a response from what is called the Architect of Cosmic Destiny, and in line with past proposals and future events for Earth. Hey, we got the first mention of the architect, and it's in ancient texts. Technically, it's not accurate to say the domes came and went because they exist spatially between spirit and matter. However, they were present on Earth 3 times in planetary history. It is also not accurate to construe the domes as mechanical material vehicles according to our customary understanding. Okay, so this is more like... Oh, wow. I can't think of the YouTube channel I'm trying to reference here, but there's a YouTube channel out there that talks about all the light frequencies of Earth and everything. What they're really focused on with that particular channel is the fact that rainbows are actually domes or spheres or like half circles, and that these rainbows don't move, and that they're actually light beings or angels. And if we go back to what we were talking about, the ley lines were here before the Earth, and that our spirit was here before our body. I hope some of this is making sense. All right, let's touch up a little bit on this before moving on. Technically, it is not accurate to say the domes came and went because they exist spatially in between spirit and matter. However, they were present on Earth 3 times in planetary history. It is also not accurate to construe... So is that saying like there's 3 different civilizations that have come and gone that have talked about these domes? That's what it sounds like to me. It is also not accurate to construe the domes as mechanical material vehicles according to our customary understanding. They are more like trans-dimensional magnetic/energy facilitators overlaid on the physical landscape. In the first dome presence, and this is capitalized first letters, dome presence. And I gotta figure out what that slideshow... That's a corrupted file there. I gotta figure out what that stuff is. You see, my mind is trying to distract me from what we're reading here, because these are very big concepts. Alright. They are more like trans-dimensional magnetic/energy facilitators overlaid on the physical landscape. In the first dome presence, there were no humans on Earth. In the second dome presence, there was primitive human life. And during the third dome presence, there were some humans who could clearly see the domes and understand their function. What these early humans saw is recounted in various ancient mythologies, and in parentheses, notably the Irish and Sumerian, end parentheses, as the houses of the sky gods. So what I said before, I was assuming the 3 dome presences were recorded by humans, but the first says that there were no humans around during that first time. How we know this knowledge, I can't answer that. When the domes were present, which by our reckoning was for a very long time, they imparted immediate energy / consciousness imprints, in parentheses, 1/4 to 1 mile in diameter. So I assume they mean 1/4 mile to a mile in diameter, end parentheses, on the Earth's surface. These were permanent resonance patterns shaped like domes, in parentheses, or like lampshades set over hills and mountains, end parentheses. This is an oscillating pattern which will persist until the Earth ceases to exist or until they are reaffirmed or altered by another dome visit. So what is this, like? Is it like a heart of light? And it's just continuously pulsing? Okay, let's continue on. Although clairvoyants today describe these etheric energy canopies resident over many hundreds of sacred mountains and past megalithic religious enclosures, in parentheses, e.g. Stonehenge, Machu Picchu, Palenque. Palenque is spelled Palenque, Mount Shasta, and among many examples, end parentheses, there are actually etheric energy memories of the once quasi-materially present domes. Though the domes have, quote, left, end quote, their powerful electromagnetic energy impressions remain in place, like the persistent retinal image of a light bulb held in front of our eyes in a dark room. The simultaneous presence and non-presence of these domes is a paradox of energy as created by the inadequacies of our language. They're basically saying they just can't put these concepts into words that make 100% sense to everyone. But we're making some sense of this. I mean, I have a concept in my head of what some of this stuff is. And I think I've articulated it as best as I can. So it's like an aura that's left behind. So then another thing to think about with this concept is, if these domes are pulsating like that, the length of time it takes for it to pulsate comes into question. Like, is it thousands of years? Is it there for a few hundred years and then it... Let's say 500 years. It's been pulsed into physical existence and then goes back into wherever. I don't know. I'm trying to understand this as best as I can along with you guys. The simultaneous presence and non-presence of these domes is a paradox of energy as created by the inadequacies of our language. I'm going to reread this paragraph one more time. This is an oscillating pattern which will persist until the Earth ceases to exist or until they are reaffirmed or altered by another dome visit. Although clairvoyants today describe these etheric energy canopies resident over many hundreds of sacred mountains and past megalithic religious enclosures, these are actually etheric energy memories of the once quasi-materially present domes. So yeah, it is phasing in and out. Though the domes have, quote, left, unquote, their powerful electromagnetic energy impressions remain in place. Like the persistent retinal image of a bulb held in front of our eyes in a dark room. The simultaneous presence and non-presence of these domes is a paradox of energy as created by the inadequacies of our language. Morphologically, however, the domes were of varying sizes, capacities, and functions. So this is where it gets deep. Arranged around the planet in a predetermined, numerically fixed matrix according to star formations above. It just makes me think. I don't know what I'm thinking of, but I'm thinking. Morphologically, however, the domes were of varying sizes, capacities, and functions arranged around the planet in a predetermined, numerically fixed matrix according to star formations above. So does that mean that it's not just like the pyramids in Egypt are lined up with Orion's belt, but that might actually be something else entirely? Like, did they see these domes and then build the pyramid? Like, who built the pyramids, first of all? We don't know. But are these structures sitting on these places where these dome energies were phasing in and out? That's kind of what it makes it sound like. But if they're all paired up with what's in the sky, then that means it wasn't humans that were saying, like, oh, let's match our megalithic structures up to the stars. It's just something that's repeated symmetrically down here. And then we at some point saw a correlation to that and built monuments around them. That's the best way I could describe it. Yeah, Missing Time. Missing Time says, I should have brought a scuba tank for this dive. Yeah, we went so deep that we're past the Mariana Trench now. I don't know where the heck we are. I didn't expect to get this deep into this. This is an hour. We've only been going for a little over an hour. This is what you call information dense. I just don't... I don't know. I'm playing around with these concepts. I'm trying to just understand it as we go along here, but I'm also pulling from a lot of other parts of research that I've done over the years. So it's like take that key out and open it up. What's inside? Gotta boot up from the back here. Get the deep knowledge going. All right. Oh my gosh. Let me take a moment here. I'm not going anywhere. I need to just pause here. Because we still have to look at the human chakras and drawings of what these domes look like from overhead. Whew. This, I don't know how the next 45 minutes are going to go, but we might just cut it at 2 hours and turn this into a 3-parter, because this is a lot. It's like this information got me in a chokehold. I can totally read all of this, right? I could read all of this, but just trying to process all of these concepts, it's... We'll do it. We'll get through this. We'll just carry on here. Oh my gosh. I don't know what to say. This is getting... Because my mind's going all over the place. This is talking about a lot of different concepts that I've learned from different portions of things. And this is just like bringing it all together into one. Okay. We'll restart this paragraph. We'll go. Morphologically, however, the domes were of varying sizes, capacities, and functions, arranged around the planet in a predetermined, numerically fixed matrix according to star formations above. Their precise distribution patterning on Earth was a microcosmic reflection of esoteric macrocosmic star geometries. And remember the quote at the beginning of this chapter, as above, so below. So we're taking that concept very literally here. The light energy of the stars are manifesting here on Earth, and that's what we're seeing with these domes, is that duality. I think I explained it pretty clearly there. Alright. We'll carry on. Their precise distribution patterning on the Earth was a microcosmic reflection of esoteric macrocosmic star geometries. That's the only thing I could think of how to explain that sentence. It's just everything I just explained. The quote, captain, end quote, domes. So there's captain domes. For example, distributed love, light, and energy to the smaller domes. The overriding intention of the domes was to bring Earth to biological, sentient life. Even today, millions of years later, etheric traces of their silvery energy pipework, and in parentheses, different from ley or dome lines. Oh, man. Okay. I don't know what to say. We have to take moments to just pause and absorb this information. At least I have to do that. I have to take notes. I have notes from every chapter, but this one takes the cake for the book. I don't know if we're going to have another chapter like this unless it just gets like this the further we get into the book, which is very likely. Oh my gosh. Even today, millions of years later, etheric traces of their silvery energy pipework, different from ley lines or dome lines are still clairvoyantly visible on the landscape in such geomantically heightened places as Glastonbury, England. We're going to check that out right now. I'm not going to keep us waiting here. All right. We're getting into mini presentation time as we're going to look at this Glastonbury. Because, you know, I do a much better job of, like, absorbing information if I see it visually, you know? So let's try to do this. Okay. I hope missing time doesn't go missing. Thanks for hanging in there. And those of you that are watching this after the fact, and you made it this far, like, man, you guys are champs. Okay, so Glastonbury is a historic town and civil parish in Somerset, England, situated on the slopes of Glastonbury Tor, a prominent hill rising 158 meters or 518 feet above sea level. It lies approximately 23 miles south of Bristol and is renowned for its deep spiritual, mythological, and historical significance. Okay, I need to share the window here so you see what I'm looking at. Okay. I got it here. Just gotta resize it. I'm gonna have to make myself real tiny on the screen here. There we go. All right, I'm just putting myself in the corner. Okay. Still don't know what I'm looking at here. Let's take a look at some of these photos. Oh, we see the duality thing there. Whoa. Okay, you're seeing my cursor here now? These two circles. And then it's connected down the middle. I want to say either somewhere in this middle portion or straight up on the top here is where what we see is like, I want to say this bottom circle is Earth. And this upper circle is the higher light realm. Or Earth is in the middle here. That Earth is in the overlapping portion of the two circles. There's a lot of different concepts you can take away from this. I don't even know what this is. This is just a photo of Glastonbury, so I don't know exactly what we're looking at. And this is an unplanned portion of the deep dive. We're looking at extra things here just because it's very fascinating to me. Oh, so it looks like they do like retreats. I was going to say festivals, but it looks like retreats. And we'll get back to reading shortly. This is beautiful. Look at this. I'm just going to fill the whole screen up with these photos. Just trying to size it right. Okay. Perfect. This is beautiful. Look at this. Glastonbury, England. Oh. Okay, so silvery energy pipe work. That's different from ley lines, which is different from dome lines. Then we got Glastonbury. We're looking at Glastonbury right now on the screen here. All right, a few more photos and then we will get back to reading. Beautiful. And these images, this one's from Adobe stock. But just take a look at that. See if I can zoom in anymore. You know what? I'm just going to keep this up while we read. The Captain domes, for example, distributed love, light, and energy to the smaller domes. The overriding intention of the domes was to bring Earth to biological sentient life. Even today, millions of years later, etheric traces of their silvery energy pipework, different from ley or dome lines, are still clairvoyantly visible on the landscape in such geomantically heightened places as Glastonbury, Glastonbury, England. Visually, we can imagine nearly 2,000 huge spherical kinetic lampshades simultaneously descending like twinkling party hats over mountains, hills, and plateaus around the world, fitting down snugly and brightly. These aren't planets or stars out there. Did you hear what I just read? Visually, we can imagine nearly 2,000 huge spherical kinetic lampshades simultaneously descending like twinkling party hats over mountains, hills, and plateaus around the world, fitting down snugly and brightly, electrifying the earth with their incredibly brilliant light and distributing this light through a spinning pinwheel matrix of dome centers. This is difficult for me to even conceptually imagine in my head. Something's telling me those lights that we see in the sky come down to the earth and touch it and charge it and comes back up. Hey, John. Good to see you here. I'm just... My mind has been blown today. This chapter is something else. Right now, my understanding of what we're reading is that what we say are the stars on these grids. It's not even the grid. It's different. The stars come down and tag the Earth and recharge it. Recharge. And what we're said to see, like UFO lights, might actually be the starlights, the things that we call stars. They're coming down, recharging, going back up. It's not UFOs, it's literal light beings. And maybe once those light beings come down here and they touch, maybe that's when they turn into saucers. I don't know. The saucer stuff is like all probably world government stuff, but there's also possibilities that it's other civilizations that live away from us. They don't want to interact with us because we're not mature enough. Does that make sense? This makes me think that the pyramids in Egypt, at some point there was witness to these lights that are making up Orion's belt, came down, touched the ground, witnessed by humans, went back up, and then they built monuments around them of what happened. You see these different hieroglyphics? They have a bunch of like they're holding those like light bulbs, right? With the filaments in them. Well, the filaments like plasma. Kind of like those plasma balls where like you put your hand on it and the electricity goes to your hand in that one thing. Think of these silvery energy pipework like that plasma from those little balls that like you put your hand on. But that's actually like the train tracks for this light energy going up and down. Oh, John says, I always thought the pyramids are docks. That's what we're talking. So, yeah, that's what I'm. We're agreeing here. This image that I'm showing here from Glastonbury, England. I don't know why I want to say Scotland. So is this like a dock too? Like a dock for the light? Goes up and down. Because we're not talking... Today on this show, we are not talking about stars that are planets in the sky. We're talking conceptually here, based off of the material, that the lights that we see in the sky that we call stars actually are not planetary objects. They are light beings that come down. And just maybe, places like this are where they come through. So see how there's like little windows and doors here? I wonder if the light just comes straight down and it illuminates this whole thing. And this probably looks very, like, it's very godly. And that they built this thing around it after the... So, like, it probably visited several times, and then they're like, hey, let's, like, build it like a landing dock or something so it could stay. And then it comes down, and it keeps coming down, and it visits them from time to time, maybe once a year or once every 10 years. It makes sense to me. Just have to have an open mind about this stuff. That we know absolutely nothing compared to what our ancestors knew. Because here, listen to this description again. Visually, we can imagine nearly 2,000 huge spherical kinetic lampshades simultaneously descending like twinkling party hats over mountains, hills, and plateaus around the world. Fitting down snugly and brightly, electrifying the earth with their incredibly brilliant light and distributing this light through a spinning pinwheel matrix of dome centers. And see, that's where it loses me a little bit. Spinning pinwheel. So it's like radiating it like a hurricane. I hope that's making sense. The domes were the originating homes of ley lines. Or more accurately, within this conceptual model, the dome lines. So dome lines came first. And then second came the ley lines, right? That's what it's saying. These exist in two forms: straight running dome lines, averaging in length 5 to 30 miles, are lines of energy connecting one dome with another, making an angular light matrix around the planet. An example of this pattern is found in California with Mount Diablo and Mount Tamalpais. Mount Diablo in Contra Costa County and Mount Tamalpais in Marin County. Both of these sacred mountains, as the native Indians originally perceived them, are just outside San Francisco, domed about 25 miles apart, and are connected by a straight dome line. The dome lines, incidentally, are pulsating energy channels with marked variations in seasonal intensity. All right, we're gonna look at these spots too. Just give me a moment here. I'm gonna jump back up in the sky. Watch this. All right. So Mount Diablo. Let's take a look at that first. Okay. I'm trying my best here to just try to give us a visual representation of... Okay. So I'm kind of seeing a dome here. I don't know. Doing a lot of thinking here today. Absolutely stunning. Okay, and then we have one more mountain out of these two here. I think we'd have a better look at this overhead. Yeah, let's try Google Maps. Why not? I just want to see the overhead of these. And then we're probably... I'm going to try to just be here for about 20 more minutes. Whenever we get to a, like, break in this paper, we'll probably divide it up that way. Alright, let's see this. There. They got a restroom. Look at that. Oh, John says, I live near those places. Have you ever been over there? I mean, these look really beautiful. So that was Mount Diablo, and then this is Mount Mount Tamalpais. Right. It's right here. I'm adjusting the size of this here. Just bear with me. Oh, this is someone's video. Gerald Berry from October 2024. Okay, so I think we got a good representation of what this is visually. Wow. Absolutely stunning. Oh, what's this? The pole? What's... that looks like an electricity pole or something. That's usually what those washers are on them. It's kind of weird. John says, no, I just drive past them my whole life. Yeah, I guess that's no different than, like, the forests that we have around here in Illinois. Like, I've barely gone to any. There's so many here, though. Look at that rock. It's all red. Okay, and one more search here that... So we did get this mountain, but let's see how close that is to Mount Diablo. It's about an hour and a half. Oh. Okay. Okay, I'll just leave this up here, and we'll continue reading. So we got the diagram of the dome lines overhead, and I want to be able to get through that. Oh, boy. Okay, let's just keep going. The domes were the originating homes of ley lines, or more accurately, within this conceptual model, the dome lines. These exist in two forms: straight-running dome lines, averaging in length 5 to 30 miles, are lines of energy connecting one dome with another, making an angular light matrix around the planet. An example of this pattern is found in California with Mount Diablo and Mount Tamalpais. And I might be pronouncing that incorrectly. Both of these sacred mountains, as the native Indians originally perceived them, are just outside San Francisco, domed about 25 miles apart and are connected by a straight dome line. The dome lines, incidentally, are pulsating energy channels with marked variations in seasonal intensity. Each dome had the capacity to initiate up to 48 affiliate energy centers, or smaller domes, through a series of spiraling dome lines with a smaller dome cap at the end. These became affiliate, spiritualized power points in the landscape, but directly related, like child to parent, with the initiating dome. Potentially there are 83,808 such dome caps on Earth, a figure that amply explains the near planetary ubiquity of ancient religious sites. There we go. So these sites had this brings up a lot of different things. Like, this concept brings up a lot of questions. But I stated everything, like what I just read, this last sentence with the religious sites, the ancient... So it's like we were marking where these lights were coming down to by these megalithic sites. The specific radiating pattern for the spiraling dome lines was heliocentric, according to the phi or phi ratio. The phi ratio, that's what it is. Or golden mean, golden proportion, golden section of sacred geometry, expressed as 1.618034, which is an asymmetrical spiral exemplified in the patterning whorls of the sunflower and the leaf distribution pattern for many plants, and described as the Fibonacci series. For example, Mount Tamalpais sends out at least 2 dome caps into urban San Francisco, spiritually energizing the areas of the Palace of Fine Arts and Lincoln Park. We're going to get a good visual representation of this. But just before we do that, I want to show the diagram that's here in the book. So this is engineering model for domes and dome lines. And the key... So, the dome cap, one of 48 potential terminating points. That's labeled. So, see how I said there was like hurricanes almost? But you see there's a triangulation to it as well. So, let's see if we can get this on here. Come on. So A is a dome cap. It's just the tail ends of these whorls. WHORLS. Dome cap, one of 48 potential terminating points. Next is B, spiraling dome line from dome, creating dome cap. So we have the dome cap, Then we have the dome line. The dome lines are the ones that are just circulating through there. C is the dome, so that's the center, the epicenter. That's right here. That's what's labeled as C. D is straight running dome line connecting domes. So the straight running dome lines, that's what's making this triangular pattern. E is the line node from dome line or Ouroboros line intersection. Okay. I'm trying to find the best way to explain this. Where it's labeled E, that is the line node from dome line intersection. So when a dome line intersects with the straight running dome line that connects the central domes that are 3. There's 1, 2, and 3. And then F is the Ouroboros grid line. Right. So that's this. That's these two lines here. What is Ouroboros? Oh, that's another name. It says it's an ancient symbol depicting a serpent or dragon consuming its own tail, forming a circle. We've heard of this before, too. Makes me think of Central America. Hey Juan, good to see you here. This is an information loaded show today. I don't even know where... I don't know how to explain today's show. It's just, it's a lot different from the others. Because we're going through a lot of different things. So, let's see here. We got 2 mountains. They have... Alright, let's just keep reading, because that's the only way we're going to understand this. These became affiliate spiritualized power points in the landscape, but directly related, like child to parent, with the initiating dome. Potentially there are 83,808 such dome caps on Earth, a figure that amply explains the near-planetary ubiquity of ancient religious sites. The specific radiating pattern for the spiraling dome lines was heliocentric, according to the Phi ratio. or golden mean, golden proportion, golden section of sacred geometry, expressed as 1.168 or 1.618034, which is an asymmetrical spiral exemplified in the patterning whorls of the sunflower and the leaf distribution pattern for many plants, and described as the Fibonacci series. For example, Mount Tamalpais sends out at least 2 dome caps into urban San Francisco. So let's zoom out here a little bit. Okay. Spiritually energizing the areas of the Palace of Fine Arts and Lincoln Park. So those were the next 2 plots we were going to put on here. All right, let me see if I can explain this now. Because that's the challenge here. I'm going to try to match it up with what I read. For example, so just watch the red dots here. Mount Tamalpais, right here, sends out at least 2 dome caps in the urban San Francisco, which is right here. So this one has 2. I'm going to show the diagram again. They have these spirals like hurricanes, but these are essentially light energy domes. And you know what? I want to say the epicenters of these are where the light from the sky comes down and touches and goes back up. And that's, in some instances, it's not UFOs, it's these light balls coming down and charging the Earth. And then go straight back up. Actually, there's been stuff like that happening in the Middle East, too. Light that comes down and then goes straight back up. So it's happening on here. So we want to say Mount Tamalpais is the center of one of these. So it's a dome center, and then the arms that come off of that center, the dome lines, pass through here at Lincoln Park, and then over on the other side, the Palace of Fine Arts. Does that make sense? It basically has 2 strings, and it's turning like a pinwheel of energy. And just 2 of them pass through right here. It sends out at least 2 dome caps. So the dome caps, that means those 2 locations are the ending points of these dome lines. So really, we could do something like this. We could say that the dome, or the mountain, Mount Tamalpais, I'm just trying to understand this concept here, but let's say Mount Tamalpais is that center dome, that big black spot. And it has two arms. I'm trying to match it up with what's on the map here. Just theoretically. Those two... these two dome caps, the two where the lines end, where the lines terminate, Lincoln Park and the Palace of Fine Arts are two dome caps. Meaning there's lines that go from those two locations back up to the mountain. And that there's energy within that. I think I explained that pretty well. But there's more. There's a lot more. There's about 50 more pages of this chapter. But we're not getting through all of it today. We're close to wrapping up for today. Because this was a lot. Again, 10 pages got me. Just because of how much information is in here. So, for example, Mount Tamalpais sends out at least 2 dome caps into urban San Francisco, spiritually energizing the areas of the Palace of Fine Arts and Lincoln Park. The dome at Mount Diablo similarly sends dome caps into what are now urban Oakland and Berkeley. And we will visually look at that too. So again, we have a dome cap with Mount Diablo. And then there's 2 dome lines that then terminate with caps in Berkeley and in Oakland. So there's 2 lines, and that's where they end. Moreover, when any spiral or straight dome lines intersect, they form minor power points called the line nodes. And I'll show that on here again. Right here. So when you have these other spirals, they all kind of connect at different points, but this one particularly is what they're talking about. Right in the center of that. Like that. I don't know. These are copious, far more so than the considerably abundant dome caps, and are characterized as variously solar/positive, lunar/negative, some centrifugal, some centripetal, and effect. Domes, dome caps, and line nodes were sequentially marked by ancient geomancers with stone circles, major temples, barrows and stone chambers, and single standing stones. Then afterwards, in the Christian Ecclesi... I can't pronounce this one. Oh, man. Hold on. Just give me a second here. I think we're going to try to finish this page, and we will continue on next week. Oh, here it is again. What's that guy's name? Ecclesiastical ascendancy by churches. Alright, let me reread this sentence. Domes, dome caps, and line nodes were sequentially marked by ancient geomancers with stone circles, major temples, barrows, and stone chambers, and single standing stones. Then afterwards, in the Christian ecclesiastical ascendancy by churches, the entire geomantic panoply, Panoply, was once positioned carefully as a set of grid engineering instruments of spiritual science within this precise web of domes, dome caps, and line nodes, energy remains of which are today being detected increasingly by Earth mysteries researchers, e.g. the British Dragon Project, directed by Paul Devereaux, editor of The Lay Hunter. Alright, I gotta write that one down too. Okay. Remembered vaguely in myth, folklore, and local custom, these landscape temples, animated by domes, linked by dome lines, may be forgotten, but they haven't been closed down. Furthermore, according to dome theory, on a planetary basis, all the domes are linked by way of interwoven gold and silver lines, which emanate like cords from their crowns, and these are joined together at one specific planetary node, which is the grid's umbilicus and master dome. The gold and silver cords represent the balanced energy inputs of positive and negative, or male and female, entering each dome. In popular mythology, this umbilical point is called King Arthur's Round Table of Camelot. Holy crap. We're getting some ancient knowledge here today. The domes were brought to Earth to create a paradise for humankind. Each carried a light form or seed crystal of what was to be, both locally and globally, through the grid. Of these paradise crystals, some have been activated, but otherwise humankind has either not been aware of this divine potential or not bothered to make use of them to create the intended Earth paradise. The option, however, still remains. Because of their heightened electromagnetic fields, the dome enclosures were like immaculate high consciousness meditation halls where human awareness could be healed, uplifted, even interdimensionally transported through the domed exit points in the houses of the gods, facilitated by megalithic engineering. The Irish Brona Boyne, or the House by the River Boyne, Boyne, known today as the New Grange Tumulus, was the home of the Tuatha De Danann, the Irish deities, and often visited by intrepid humans seeking an audience with their gods. A lot of new information here. I'm looking up this house. You know what they say about, like, the waterways having something to do, like, this says Boyne Hill House Estates, but I don't know if that's really what that is. Let's go back to the map here, just to verify. River Boyne. Okay. I guess somewhere right here, right? Because of their heightened electromagnetic fields, the dome enclosures were like immaculate high consciousness meditation halls where human awareness could be healed, uplifted, and even interdimensionally transported through the domed exit points in the houses of the gods, facilitated by megalithic engineering. The house... Okay, let's just... I didn't use the proper term here. The Irish B-R-U-G-H... Nah, boy. It's like not labeling it as I try to... Okay, right there. Oh. Oh, it's labeled. Oh my goodness. Did you see that? There's a tomb? No. Hold up. Oh. I don't know what we're looking at. I saw something else here. That's it. Wow, you want to talk about like ancient? And there's something definitely going on with this. Look at this thing. And then that. And I don't know if this is all the same thing or not. It's kind of hard to tell. This looks like what we're looking for, though. Right? Okay. Let's continue reading. The New Grange Tumulus. That's it. That's what it is. It was the home of the Tuatha De Danann, the Irish deities, and often visited by intrepid humans seeking an audience with their gods. The domed coordination points in some cases contain psychic maps to the local esoteric geography. Quote, these maps are used to provide points of resonance, release, and deflection, end quote, and include details of the local layout of the domes, dome caps, line nodes, and dome lines, and their energy/consciousness ratings. The domes facilitate meditatively acquired insight into the planetary thought matrix, what Teilhard Chardin calls the noosphere. Noosphere. Which is present like a hologramic library in the energy field of each dome. This is why the biblical Moses received the Pentateuch, or Torah, the Torah Or, on Mount Sinai, which was a preeminent sacred domed mountain. Furthermore, true to Hermes' principle of correspondence, and in a process of reciprocal inevitability, when the domes arrived, their terrific heat brought up a dome of water from underground. With its multi-directional web of water veins, both to cool the searing earth and to mirror the light dome above. Thus, even today, there are yang/centrifugal light lines and domes above ground, and yin/centripetal water lines and domes underground. Etheric above, physical below. This is behind the phenomenon constantly reported by dowsers of anomalous copious water networks coincident with sacred enclosures. Now, what does all of this have to do with Coral Castle? Well, let me tell you. Ed Leedskalnin was known for dowsing and rotting, and he used that method to find the first location of what he built as Rock Gate in Florida City, and then I guess we can assume that he did further dowsing work and decided that Homestead, Florida, is where he needed to go. And I just want to show that variation here in the geography for Ed. He was in Florida City when he started building Coral Castle, and then he went to Homestead. He had everything moved. He had it pre-built. He started building it 2 miles. It's too big here. Hold up. There we go. Close that. Oh, he moved it up north a little. Toward Dixie Highway. Okay, so he was actually south of where it is now. He started building Coral Castle down here. It was called Rock Gate. And he must have just walked 2 miles and was just dowsing the whole area. And then found that Homestead was going to be the place where he wanted to put this thing. But he had all of the structures moved. Had them brought down the street here on giant trucks. That main one. Let's get that slideshow back up. This one in the background. Let's see if we can get it to play again. It's to the right side here. Yeah, we're still looking to the right. Okay. So it'll pop up here, but eventually it will. But I guess I'm saying, like, he found a more accurate point. Maybe he found where the dome cap was. Or another intersecting line, and he felt that it should go over there. But you guys that have been watching this, that larger stone that was moved in one piece, that was the Polaris stone. I just wanted to show once on here before we move on. But we're pretty much finished for today. We went 2.5 hours. What the heck? All right, let's just wrap it up, though. And if I see it up here between when I'm reading, then you'll see it. I'll point it out. Thus, the domes, metaphysically speaking, distributed the vibrations of love and light from above through this imposed grid system, thereby spiritually irradiating the landscape and, by extension, human consciousness with these positive evolutionary energies. This is the key. Before Adam, before Elohim. This is so that's just like a statement here. This is the key. Before Adam, before Elohim. Because everything was light prior to being physically manifested. The meaning of this gnomic statement will emerge as we move through the grid. However, the doorway for this key is expressed in a single number, i.e. the number of planetary domes, 1,746. In the mystical science of Kabbalah and its mathematical language of gematria, this is a number of profound significance. For it is the fusion of the primary solar, 666, and lunar, 1080. The bipolar energies behind manifestation. In Kabbalah symbolism, 1,746 is the, quote, grain of mustard seed, end quote, and which Christ likened to the kingdom of heaven. It is also symbolically the divine man, the Spirit of God on earth, the mysteries of Jesus, the divinity of the Spirit, and others of similar import. The second key aspect of the electromagnetic 1,746 grid is chakras. According to the esoteric Hindu yoga, in the human etheric body, there are 7 major subtle energy centers called chakras, Sanskrit for, quote, spinning wheels, end quote, ranged linearly along the vertical spinal axis from the scrotum to the crown of the head. There are anywhere from 7 to 22, so through 7 through 22 minor chakras as well, distributed throughout the body. The major chakras are like electrical junction boxes or energy transducers for the physical body. Mediating higher plane energies through the material form. Chakras are functionally affiliated with the 7 principal endocrine glands and thereby with specific organ regions of the body and with specific ascending consciousness states as well. Okay, I think I'm going to stop here for today because we're starting to get into chakras. It's going to go from body chakras to earth chakras. I don't want to start getting into that after we went through all the dome lines today. That was something else. We'll continue on next week with part 2 of this, but really, that might not be the end of this chapter. We might have to split this into 3 parts because we barely got through 10 pages and there's like 60 pages. Okay. So here's the plan. Next week, Tuesday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, we will continue from page 150. We'll start looking at the body chakras and then how that correlates going into earth chakras. I told you it was going to get wild. we're at 2.5 hours. I will not do another 4-hour show like this. And this 10 pages took 2.5 hours. So, that'll be that. But tomorrow, we will be doing our next installment into the Bermuda Triangle. So be sure to be here at 6 p.m. tomorrow. And we'll be starting right away. We were a little behind today. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, all right? We're all human here. So, with that being said, I thank you all as always. Please don't forget to like. And if you have any thoughts or comments, leave them below and I'll reply. We can have a conversation. If you have different perspectives on what we read today about all this, let me know. Because I do want to keep the conversation going. That's the half of this. Besides me reading this information out and showing the images and video and everything, the other half is all of you engaging with the material I'm sharing. So it could help steer the show into places that we didn't think we'd talk, or topics that we wouldn't think we'd talk about, but it turns out to be beneficial to the portion of the book that we're reading here. And this was probably the most complicated part of this whole series so far. This was like a condensing of many different concepts down into this new concept of dome lines. Everyone heard about ley lines, but dome lines, that's not really talked about much. But this is going to be it for today. Thank you again, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. We're going to get back into the waters of the Bermuda Triangle and more disappearing planes. So, and we got to have like a whole log of disappearing planes and boats that we're going to just go down the list. It's going to be another weird show. I don't know what we're going to get into with that. But the further we go into this, the more new information comes to the surface. Like I'm losing my words here. It's gone too long today. So again, thank you, and I will see you all tomorrow. Until the next one. Class dismissed.